move on to beat Cyril next round.
No, I've heard it before. I mean, Cyril's not there yet. Let's not sleep on Denver. Why are you laughing at Denver, mate? Denver's an excellent Zerg, but obviously there is a potential cracker of a match in the quarterfinal if this man, does not win this series. Let's focus on him. He's been playing some fantastic StarCraft lately, hailing from France. It is Drogo.
And up in the top left-hand corner of the map, we have our red Protoss player from Ting, the American. He goes by the name of Neeb.
Now, of course, the dream matchup for a lot of fans when it comes to foreign StarCraft 2. If you don't include the Koreans, the one match that people want to see in circuit events like this is D-Man of 2017, which of course was Neeb, against D-Man of 2018, which of course is Cyril. And they haven't really played against each other that much. They ran into each other a couple of times in a random online tournament.
Who won those events?
Neeb won the online match. Neeb also won in China, of course.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, but they also had a couple of bigger ones at WSG offline the year before. Cyril won 3-0.
That was a long time ago.
I also remember a Cyril victory in Katowice. One hell of a game, though. One of my favorite games.
That was amazing.
Yeah, on Kairos Junction. So once again, guys, the potential of Neeb against Cyril. I mean, America against Finland in the quarterfinals. Normally that only happens in ice hockey. So that sounds very exciting to the people. We'd love to see it. But like I said before, don't sleep on Drogo. Drogo has been playing really good StarCraft lately, and Neeb got its work cut out for him, man.
Absolutely. Now we already see one of the proxy pylons going up here for Neeb, and he's sending that probe around afterwards. The funny thing is, if you've been watching GSL, you have seen many PvPs where both players proxy directly next to each other unintentionally. So I like that Neeb's scouting around, but he doesn't seem to be actually proxying any tech right now. It is just the second pylon to sort of throw PtitDrogo a little bit into, I guess, a bit of uncertainty.
Yep. It's just to make it harder for your opponent to figure out what is happening. I spoke a tiny bit with Neeb as well, and he's like, PvP. He's like, I don't really like it. I was like, Alec, you always say that. Give me something real. Give me something I can work with. He's like, well, I've actually been playing a decent amount of custom games with Drogo as well. He's like, so I'm actually kind of afraid of this. He's like, I think it's going to be quite weird games. So if you've got no idea what's going on, he's like, don't worry, I won't have any idea either, because things get pretty weird between us. That's what Alex gave me. And I'm like, all right, well, I can work with this. This should be fun.
Oh, absolutely. And I feel like Drogo is one of those players that is especially scary when he has some time, just even a little bit of time to think about the next opponent and sort of plan out the series, because he is one of those players that's really, really scary in that regard. Whereas I feel like Neeb is that player that, of course he does mix-ups. I think you can't really play PvP without mixing out your play style a little bit. But he is this player that will tend to play a little bit more normal or standard more often than not.
Something we haven't talked about that much today yet are the WCS points. Now, obviously, Neeb has collected a lot of WCS points already this season because he won WCS Winter for the Americas. That did not give him a seed into the global finals because we had two winters, basically, a European and an American one. But it did give him an insane amount of points. He got a semi-finals last time at spring. So obviously, Neeb is almost there. He's not totally there yet, but something very, very weird has to happen. For Drogo, Drogo had a good showing in WCS Europe Winter. He made it to the offline event. He got a victory there as well. So overall, Drogo looked good. Drogo did good. But spring, it didn't really work out for him. He lost in that PvP series against Goblin. So for Drogo, if he's dreaming about those global finals at the end of the year, Ravi, he kind of needs a victory here.
This is a super important match for him. And, he's going to be able to find one of these Stalkers. And Neeb not quite allowing that Stalker to, I guess, get out of there safely, but barely survives. Going to have the shield battery heal it back up. Two Adepts going to be joining the fray, and this is going to add a little bit of chaos to Neeb's defense potentially, or Neeb will just catch the Adepts before they actually get in.
I love how he only dropped one force field there. I feel like almost all of us would have dropped two force field. Neeb drops one. And that's exactly the only force field he needed to pick up that one Adept. So very well done. And it's also so nice to know that your opponent opened up with two Adepts, because the moment you get one of them, the other Adept is kind of useless, right? Yeah. It's not that scary anymore. And now, of course, you know as well. So you know that you have to be worried about it. So far, I think Neeb has been playing a pretty solid game. Not losing that one Stalker really worked out as well.
Yeah. Well, the Warp Prism is going to be warping a couple of Adepts here in the center of the map. And okay, the two Adepts that Neeb warped in from his proxy pylon just shade on forward. And guess what? The entire army's out of position. That means that the natural expansion is very vulnerable. Starting to see some probes getting picked off. 3 probes going down. These Adepts still alive and kicking. maybe a 5th probe. There it is. And that is some solid damage this early on.
Yep, that is excellent damage early on. And Neeb is going to try to do the same thing one more time. And he's not going to let it finish up, but at least he knows about all of these units. He knows where the army of Drogo is right now. And it was 5 probes and a little bit of lost mining time as well. So I think that Neeb is very pleased with how this game went.
Wow, the Templar Archives is so much faster for Neeb than Drogo, who's just starting a Twilight Council.
Yeah, I mean, all those probes were not mining, right? It really slows you down.
No kidding.
Yeah. So far, so good for the American hero. Drogo is going to scout. Now, I do think in PvP in general, it can be kind of hard to just run to the other side of the map and win games. Of course, if you get a Prism in the main base and you've got way more money, more gates, then you can obviously close games out like that. But these Archon Zealot fights, shield batteries are massive in those battles, because getting a shield battery on your Archon, while it's like fighting 4 or 5 Zealots, can really make the difference of 10-20 supply easily. So even though things have gone alright for Neeb so far, that doesn't mean he can just storm across the map and win.
Yeah. Also seems like Neeb is adding on maybe an extra gateway or 2 over Drogo, as we're starting to see +1 weapons finished up, but Drogo's a lot faster to start up that +2 weapons, and +2 weapons is the money upgrade in this matchup. That is the upgrade that makes all the world of difference. So Neeb, okay, he does eventually get that started up, as of course his adepts do get cleaned up, and ooh, War Prism, gotta be careful, expensive payload.
Yeah, I think upgrades are super important, and obviously +2 is a big one, but I still think it's a little bit less impactful than, let's say, in a TVT, right, where Marines attack so incredibly fast. Like, it makes a difference, of course, and it's very important to be on the money with your upgrades, but the bigger these, like, clumsy Protoss armies become, I think the more important positioning becomes, rather than an upgrade, right? Like, having your Archons, your Immortals, and your Zealots, having the decent engagement, or a much better engagement, can absolutely overcome an upgrade deficit in this matchup.
Yeah, especially when you talk about clunky Archons and Immortals,
I hate that army comp, man. Like, it's fun.
When there's 6 Archons attacking 6 other Archons, it is certainly a sight to behold.
Yep. It's like the blue high fives in the middle of the sky. It's like, it's like, okay, who's losing them?
It's
and
like everyone's arm wrestling.
And then it's like a domino effect. Like, one Archon goes down, and then the other 5 follows one. It's like, hey, we started both with 6 Archons. You've got 5 left. I've got 0. What happened? It's
actually, Roddy, I'm going to ask you a question. If an Archon is standing next to another Archon and it attacks like an enemy Archon, does it actually friendly fire, or sorry, not friendly fire, does it actually splash damage to the Archon next to it, or are the Archons too clunky?
No, I'm pretty sure you do splash damage to it. Yeah, if they're standing right next to each other, I'm pretty damn positive about that one. There's a little bit of splash there. We'll see. Drogo feeling a little bit adventurous here, but like I said, guys, shield batteries are so big. Look at those batteries in the back as well.
3 of them.
Yeah, I don't recommend Drogo to commit here. Like, if he's just using this as a distraction maneuver, but he's not. He actually just wants to go for it. He thinks he... Yeah, I mean, he does have his upgrade, but I would rather have the shield batteries here, Ravi.
Yeah, the charge lots are going to be charging on, and a couple of Force Seals come down the left-hand side, keeping out a few of the Zealots. Actually, a lot of the Zealots being kept out of the battle. The Archons are going ham, and it looks like Drogo does have a few more Zealots still left alive, warping in from that War Prism. Nexus starting to lose a lot of hit points. It's already lost a majority of its shields, and we're starting to see more and more of these Zealots charge to their deaths, but now it's going to be about the Archons that are starting to lose the hit points, and Drogo, he's keeping his Archons alive with the War Prism, but only for so long, as Neeb is going to start overtaking him.
I really don't know why Drogo thought he was going to be able to win the game there. GG is called. Neeb wins it. I'm looking at 2 completely identical armies, but then one Protoss has 4 shield batteries. Yeah. It's like, well, I mean, everything I said in the beginning of the game, I think, turned out to be quite true. They are so incredibly important in PvP. They're so massive, because it's very easy to save Archons, right? Because these armies have relatively low damage output at first. So you can save an Archon, you drop it next to the battery. That's a full HP Archon again. And I must say, I think Drogo dropped some good force fields, right? He trapped the Zealots. It was cute and all, but you can't out-micro 3 shield batteries. I don't care if you're the son of Stats and Rain combined. Like, you're just not going to out-micro 3 batteries in a very even fight.
Yeah, I mean, we even saw that engagement was going very evenly. Just the only difference was the Archon hit points. And it was eventually when Drogo finally lost 1 or 2 of the Archons that suddenly it looks like his army just goes poof.
Yep, it's a domino effect. Like 1 or 2 disappear and then everything disappears. You're like, oh my goodness, can I recall? It's like, nope, all of that dies too. It's like, oh, I guess this is it, right? I mean, I'm a bit disappointed by that almost, because I know that Drogo's so incredibly good, and I just don't think he had to do it there. And yeah, he did have that slightly quicker +2, right?
Yeah.
Like I said, I would honestly prefer +1 there and 3 batteries over +2.
Oh, yeah.
And obviously in the middle of that fight, +2 kicked in for Neeb anyway.
Yeah. I mean, the funny thing is Archons don't do a lot of damage to enemy Archons, so you have plenty of time for those shield batteries to kick in and heal up those Archons. So with that being said, Neeb now currently sitting up 1-0, but this is a best of 5. This is one of those formats where you do have a little bit of space to kind of experiment. Unfortunately, I wouldn't really call that one of those games where you're like, I tried something and it worked or it didn't. No, that was one of those games where you kind of look back and was like, I shouldn't have done that. So hopefully Drogo can bounce back as we jump into game number 2. And we're going to be starting down here in the bottom right-hand corner of the map, top of the blue Protoss player. He goes by the name of PtitDrogo.
Important to stay calm and composed, of course. His run ended in spring against Goblin. He wants to make sure it doesn't end against another Protoss player, this time on the left top side. The man who perhaps will have a date with Serral. A rematch of that John Chopping final of 2017. It is Neeb. Serral, by the way, has taken a 2-0 lead over Denver, but the third claim actually seems to be very close between these two, so Denver definitely making Serral work for it as well. But hey, that dream matchup for so many fans. I mean, before these tournaments, I actually got a couple DMs as well. They're like, Neeb is going to win this one, I promise you. And it's like, Neeb is going to take out Serral. Neeb is our man. Like,
was I one of them?
No, I've seen your tweets, but you were not one of the DMs. So Denver actually taking game 3 over Serral, guys. So Serral not there yet. Just, of course, like Neeb is not there yet.
The king bleeds a little bit. We're going to see if Drogo can make our old king bleed just a tiny bit as we move into game number 2. We're seeing a probe on the far bottom left-hand side. Looks like Neeb is going to go for yet another one of those proxy pylons. And I really like this more and more as we just see more and more of this happen. Are there any downsides for going for these proxy pylons? Because I know that even if you don't actually build any tech there, even if your opponent doesn't really get thrown off by thinking, oh, there's some proxy tech, it's still great for the Adept weapons.
The one downside you can say is that obviously if your opponent doesn't scout at all, you technically lose a few more minerals than he does. That's pretty much the only thing. So no, it is very nice to have pylons out there on the map. Like you said, there are so many moments where you can see your opponent moving out, and 2 Adepts, they can really turn a game upside down very quickly in PvP. We saw that in the previous game. Neeb didn't get like a world of damage, but hey, 5 probes and a little bit of lost mining time, it definitely didn't hurt Neeb.
Oh. So Drogo actually got the shield battery wall up on his opponent's, or sorry, the pylon wall up on his opponent's side of the map. So Neeb is walled in, and the funny thing is he actually did this before the probe managed to get out. So that does give him vision. He sees the stalkers. What I really love is occasionally you'll see the stalker sentry or something, but
I like the Stargate. I like the Stargate coming out of Neeb. It's a Stalker into an Adept opening as well, so we'll see where he goes with this. I think in general, Stargate openings are very powerful against Robo openings, and I feel that most top European Protosses right now, they're leaning more and more towards the Robo openings. So I'm definitely quite pleased to see Neeb going with the Stargate here, and I hope he gets some good damage done.
Okay, we're seeing some Stalkers exchange blows for a little bit, but Neeb taking more shots on one of his Stalkers. He's going to back off. He doesn't want to lose anything past shield. Yeah. We see a Proxy Pylon coming up for PtitDrogo. He barely dodged out of the way of those Stalkers moving across the map as well. So, Blue St. Phoenix going to maybe catch vision of an Adept for a split second. Is he going to be prepared with those for those Adepts to move in? This is pretty standard PvP shenaniganry that he has to deal with.
There's still a probe there on top of the ramp, and it will drop the force field. Force fields go down as well, so Drogo will do a lot of damage on that one Stalker. Does not get it. Neeb actually recalls. What did he recall? Okay, he let the Adept Shade finish up. That's why he recalled. He didn't want to lose the Adepts. But this is a really good scout by Drogo. There is an Oracle out, by the way, yet already. It's already making its way to the other side of the map. But Drogo also scouted the timing of the Nexus. And that's, I think, pretty important, because then he also knows, obviously, that the expand of Neeb is a little bit later. Drogo is running to the other side of the map. I don't think he has to do this, though. But he has that proxy. Man, look at Drogo. He's getting feisty. Yeah, he's getting really feisty, Ravi.
How many gateways does he have now?
3, I think. But that's still some pretty dedicated pressure.
Yeah. Well, the Oracle moves forward. It just throws down a Revelation as it saw a shield battery in the mineral line. Yeah, it is 3 gateways now to 2. So Drogo is eventually going to start being able to outproduce Neeb, especially since Neeb invested in the Stargate. He's making Oracles not the greatest unit for these direct fights.
There's a lot of force fields on the side of Drogo as well. I'm actually really shocked to see Neeb getting the first kill there on one of these sentries. That's very nice. The force field didn't work out that well, but there is one more stock. I want to say that goes down, but it doesn't go down. Neeb saves it, and I really feel there was way more potential here for Drogo than what he's getting so far. Great defense by Neeb, but I think that Drogo messed this one up a tiny bit.
Yeah, the shield battery is going to be helping out a lot here as well. And even the Oracle's getting some damage and getting out of there alive. Now, Neeb is now mostly working on just a few number of Stalkers. The sentries don't add in that much DPS, so he's losing a lot of units. Drogo now sitting at a higher Stalker count, but another shield battery finishes up. Another round of Warpins. Neeb looks like he might have some tools to hold on, but it's definitely going to be close.
Yeah, now it's actually going to be really hard because Drogo still has a lot of Stalkers alive. One Stalker does get sniped, but the other one's so low on HP. Neeb is forced to pull the workers, snipes the Oracle as well. Drogo it is. Drogo's going to ignore the probes, just dive on top of these Stalkers, and actually it seems that Drogo in the end will be able to get victory here as he snipes that second Oracle as well. Well done by Drogo. He actually stayed so patient there, and in the end he got sick value out of his move out.
Yeah, great micro there, and GG gets called. Drogo ties up the series 1-1.
There was one Stalker in the end, or like right before the end, where Drogo got the final kill. Neeb almost saved it with the battery and it died. And I think if that Stalker stays alive, it suddenly looks all a little bit different, right? Because then Neeb has more DPS. He can fall back. The longer it goes on, the better it is for Neeb.
It's the snowballing.
Yep, like that one Stalker can really have such a big impact there. But Drogo getting that final kill, because I was looking at it first, I'm like, I feel that Drogo should be able to do a lot of damage here. Is Neeb just defending? Almost looked like it. And then Drogo is like, nah, we're not done yet. And that's when he went in again. He got that one final shot off, and once again PvP can really be a domino effect, because in general there's so much micro potential in all of these units that if you just get a 1 or 2 unit advantage, I mean, that can really make all the difference.
Oh, absolutely. StarCraft is one of those interesting games where if you keep one unit alive and that unit is able to participate in the battle that goes on for another 10-15 seconds, that is not only the damage absorbed that unit can gain from the shield battery and everything, but that is an extra 8-9 shots. That's enough to kill a Stalker, which reduces your opponent's DPS. It has these long-term effects.
Yep, and burst damage is super important when Stalkers don't have blink, so it's very nice to get a higher number. But if you don't have enough Stalkers, then you can't really right-click on Stalkers, because then if the other Stalker runs away, you're losing your entire DPS, and obviously if you're already down in numbers, every unit matters so much. So Neeb, his hands were kind of tied there in the end, just because his Stalker count was so low. The only thing he could hope for was attack move and try to keep these Stalkers alive. But Drogo did an excellent job in sniping them. Well done. The French Stas ties it up, and we're heading to game 3.
All right, game 3. What is the map going to be? We're moving on to Cyber Forest, and our first player is going to be starting up here in the top left-hand corner of the map. Was able to take that last game. Let's see if he can do it again. His name is PtitDrogo.
In the right bottom side of Cyber Forest, we're looking at the main base of the King of 2017, as you called it, and I can't disagree. He was awesome, and he still is. It's Neeb.
So, moving into game number 2, Roddy, I see the gateway. I just want to note that one of my favorite things that Neeb has been doing, I feel like lately in the past 4 months, 3-4 months, is that I feel like a lot of his PvPs, he has actually been mixing in occasional cannon rushes.
Okay.
So I've been waiting for it. I don't hate him not doing it on this map, because I think this is sometimes a tough map for it, but just keep an eye out for it. I'm waiting for it in game number 4, maybe.
Maybe if he, I think if he was a 2-0 up, there is a good
Yeah.
chance that he would have busted it out. But I think doing a cannon rush when you're 1-1, the funny thing is actually that recently our boy Pig, I mean, we all love Piggy, I think he did a big series on cannon rushing of the Grim Reaper, one of the most notorious cannon rushes in Europe, where the Grim Reaper played a whole bunch of games against Drogo, and Grim Reaper actually did very well. And obviously Drogo is way better than the Grim Reaper, but Drogo actually said, he's like, these cannon rushes, man, they're ridiculous. And I'm like, yeah, I know. They're very good at it. He's like, I'm actually so happy that there are a lot of pros who don't do this. He's like, because I'd be terrified of it. So it wouldn't even be a bad choice, actually.
No, it's incredibly scary. You know what the funny thing is? You watch a lot of Grim Reapers stream and everything. Of course I do. Yeah. I watch all the cannon rushers. But one of the funny things is he'll talk about, like, you know, oh, there are things that, for example, PrintF does a lot better than me where it comes to like canceling cannons that need to be canceled, all these kind of smaller things. So there's even room for improvement from there. It can be a really scary strategy. But enough about the cannon rushes. We're not seeing that this game. We're seeing double Adept opening from Neeb versus the double Stalker opening. It's not a massive, massive mix-up over here, but it is different from all of the games that they've played so far.
Oh my goodness, Amber Alert as well. I mean, before this PvP really kicks off, I actually believe that Denver is about to tie things up with Serral. If you guys want to watch that series, head over to www.twitch.tv/Wardy with 3 eyes. That would be the upset of all upsets. Imagine that. I mean, that's not over yet, but that's still going on, guys. So the 2 big names of the foreign scene are currently both struggling a little bit in their round of 16 matchup.
Neeb gets his Adepts across the map. There is a Stargate on the way, but these 2 Stalkers are being so aggressive, and Neeb went for a 4 Adept opening, not just the 2. So he cancels that Adept Shade. Doesn't feel like he wants to commit, as he saw that there was no Nexus at the natural for Drogo.
Yeah, very quick Stargate, so we'll see. Kind of like reverse tables of previous game, right? Neeb actually going for the Robo, though. Obviously, we saw Drogo go for the 3-gate aggression with that proxy pylon. Neeb is actually going for attack building here. So we'll see how this plays out. I mean, I think PvP is an awesome matchup, but it's also a very fragile one, right? 2 Adepts squeeze into the main base, an Oracle flies into an exposed mineral line. This is a matchup where you really have to keep your eyes wide open all the time, because if you don't know what your opponent is doing, this is a pretty bizarre opening, by the way, by Neeb. He's got so many Adepts. What does he have in his main base, by the way?
He's got a shield battery going up, so that's going to help him out a lot versus the Oracle, a single Oracle at least.
Yes and no, right? There is a way to actually kill quite a few probes with your Oracle, and I'm pretty damn sure that Drogo is aware of this. So there is a Stalker that's going to be wiped in. Drogo does not want to go for it. It seems like he's actually quite scared by the fact that he doesn't see any units at all. So he's going to go and bring that Oracle home and deal with all of these in-depths instead.
Oh, he pulls the probe back. He doesn't go for the full wall off, and that means that he doesn't really have the normal protection. The Oracle is going to help out a lot with the DPS over here. Focus firing down some of these Adepts, and Neeb is actually not going to commit too much further. He's trying to shade back. He's down to just a few of these Adepts, which will get out, but he shades directly on top of another one of these Oracles.
Yeah, I absolutely believe that Drogo did that on purpose, man. He saw these Adepts, and he's like, you know what? I've got an Oracle coming back home. I've got another Oracle about to pop. I've got a bunch of Gateway units setting in my main base. I'm ready for it. And is it just me, or was this kind of a lackluster opening by Neeb in the end?
Yeah, I'm not used to seeing these numbers of Adepts without like a resonating glaives to back it up and going into a really, really big committed attack. But this is certainly not worked out very well for Neeb, as Drogo not only has his Oracles alive to continue harassing, to continue scouting, but Neeb just doesn't really have that much of an army. He's just got these Adepts to keep his opponent at home.
Yep. The thing is as well, though, because Neeb doesn't have a great way to shut down these Oracles, right? And if Drogo keeps on top, or stays on top, rather, of his Oracle control, I think Neeb's going to have a very tough time ever picking them off. Do you really want to get Blink just to deal with 2 Oracles? Most likely not, because then you're going to die against some Zealot Immortal timing. So basically, he's going to have to find out a way to snipe those 2 Oracles, even though he doesn't have Blink Stalkers and he doesn't have a Stargate himself. And Ravi, I can guarantee you that's going to be very difficult for Neeb.
Well, Adept's trying to shade over to the main base. There wasn't a probe over there, and actually Drogo just decides to commit over to the natural. A shield battery is not too helpful over here when there's 2 Adepts here to one-shot those workers. So finally Neeb takes care of one of the Adepts. Other Adept will go down shortly. But 3 workers, not bad.
No, not bad at all. And these Oracles obviously still very healthy. We'll see if they can get something done in main base. The SimCity actually could work against Neeb here. Ooh. You can see that these Stalkers have to take the long way around. That's -2 probes very quickly, and a Revelation as well. The thing is, though, it doesn't really matter how good Neeb is. He's going to struggle against this, so maybe the best defense here is offense, and see if he can get some good damage done with his Adepts. And these Adepts, they should be able to get at least 4 probes, maybe 5.
Yeah, doing a great job by sniping off these probes one by one, and maybe 6. No, it doesn't get the last shot off. I do want to note that with all of the harassment, you'd think like, oh, but Drogo's killed a lot more workers. But funny enough, Neeb is still further ahead. Neeb has been a lot more consistent about producing these 2 workers at a time. And now he's sitting at 44 workers. It's a pretty normal place to start cutting some of the pro production. But he hasn't really fallen behind economically. It's just the additional investment into it.
It's just so hard for Neeb to ever move out because of those Oracles. You simply cannot move out. When there's 2 Oracles out on the map, he would have to leave so many units at home, and he can absolutely never do that. So I think the best thing that Neeb could do is just kind of sit back and go up to 3 bases. But he doesn't want to do that too quickly either, because then he could die, actually, if he spreads himself too thin against the opening of Drogo. I mean, Neeb is just, even though I know that the numbers look very even, guys, Neeb has been very far behind in this game because he opened up with 6 to 8 adepts, I believe it was, and literally got absolutely nothing done. So I'm actually impressed by the fact that Neeb is putting himself in such a decent position, considering the fact that it really didn't work out for him in the first place.
Oh my god, I thought for a second Neeb was going to do the next level IQ play where he warped in some High Templars from the Warp Prism and then fed back the Oracles since he saw them going that way, but
yeah, that'd be cool.
Revelation does come down on the Warp Prism. The Archon drops are pretty annoying to deal with in PvP because no unit really does extra damage versus these Archons. They're just big, tanky units that are able to get a lot of damage done.
Okay, but his Warp Prism is taking a lot of damage though. Neeb, can you get out of there? Yes, he does, because he's Neeb and he's just so damn good. I wouldn't mind to see a Phoenix being produced, by the way. I'm so surprised that these guys would be like, no Phoenix, it's too expensive. I'm like, come on, you've got a Stargate.
Yeah.
You may as well make your life a little bit easier, right? Oh my goodness, this would be massive.
That is a big pick off.
Yep, the Prism will not go down yet, but these Immortals, they get recalled. Drogo saves everything so far. Wow, that's sick. I love it.
Yeah. Now the Warp Prism will eventually be saved as a couple of Stalkers make their way over, and the Warp Prism for Neeb would be in a bit of danger if it stuck around for too long. So third base going up for both of these players. They both have gotten up charge, and they're both getting up +2 weapons, adding on the Archons and going into a similar composition. Would you say this game is evened out? We actually see Neeb up a little bit in army supply.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Neeb has survived, I think, the scary phase where he was normally supposed to fall behind, and I don't think he really is behind at this point. No, he absolutely has a very good fighting chance. He activates one of these stasis traps, but it is an Archon, though. So you obviously don't want to lose an Archon. Now, maybe he can use the fact that the entire army of Drogo is here. Oh, Neeb's actually going to go for it. Neeb's got way more Zealots, by the way, and he's going to get quicker +2 as well. Take a look at that +2 weapons, Ravi, that you like so much.
Yeah, no Archons left behind. Neeb thrashes into that third base, demolishes it. The Oracles that you were talking about do move in. A couple of Stalkers are giving them chase, but his third base is going to be falling. Drogo also getting supply block from that. That's going to prevent additional warpins. He's already set up the stasis trap as well.
That's a lot of defensive Stalkers. Now, the Oracles do finally go down. Do you want to run up this ramp, Neeb? I don't think you have to, right? Like, you're going up to 3 bases on the other side of the map. Yeah, you've lost a couple probes. You don't have to do it. I don't like the fact that the Immortals are in the front, by the way, here for Drogo. And I do have good news for all the Sero fans out there. Don't ask me how he did it, guys, because he was losing game 4. We've said it before. Absolutely magnificent, ridiculous game by Sero. Yes, I've been watching 2 games at once, because when Sero is playing, I can't take...
How can you not?
No, I can't take my eyes off it. But you guys got to take a look at that game 4 between Denver and Sero. That was ridiculously good StarCraft.
I'm excited for that. But for this game, we do see right now that Neeb is doing exactly what I think you were hoping he would do, which is not actually push up, but just contain Drogo, slowly keep him on 2 bases, and gradually take an economic edge.
Perfect. It's absolutely
perfect. Oh no, Neeb, don't do this, don't do this. I was just telling you weren't doing this.
I mean, the one thing you can say is maybe that his army becomes a little bit redundant soon, right? These units can start to overlap each other. Like, Archon Zealot is really good, but that's about as many as you ever want to get. Now, I like what Drogo is doing as well. He realized that he can't just look at that army of Neeb forever, so he's going to try to counterattack, but he's going to keep his Prism alive, and he won't keep his Prism alive. That is a massive snipe for Neeb, and Neeb is just taking more and more control of this game at this point. The one Hail Mary play is that Dark Shrine, but I mean, the Warp Prism just went down.
Yeah, and now Drogo has to make another Warp Prism, which delays any form of a counterattack. This entire time, Neeb has been mining from that third base. You can see that not only is the natural starting to get a little bit thinner on minerals, but the main base is most certainly already running out of a lot of those mineral patches. The mining is becoming worse and worse for Drogo. That Dark Shrine is pretty much his Hail Mary. That Dark Shrine is where all of his hopes are pinned right now. Photon cannons are starting up right now in all the mineral lines, I think, for Neeb. He's starting up 3 cannons.
Yep. Well, we often say, right, if you feel like you're really quite far ahead, but at the same time you can still lose, that's a nice little Archon snipe there by Drogo. I think it's very important. No, Neeb, don't.
Oh my god, those Zealots on a regular move command.
Neeb, he's tricking you. I don't think you really want to take this fight, even though you had a much bigger army. That was not good. That's a lot of Zealots going down. Did you see those shots? Do we have an observer here?
I don't think... yes. There is one coming now.
Okay.
The Archon splash damage also would help out versus those DTs if he does end up losing Observer, but nice Warp Prism Micro from Neeb. Keeps things alive. Even now has +3 weapons finished up.
I mean, there is +3 on the way for Drogo as well. This fight just looks so silly, right? All of the Archons have just gone down, and Neeb is like, cool, I'm richer than you, so this is good. Even though Neeb technically has a few less probes, obviously he's going to have more income because Drogo is going to mine out his main base real soon, and Neeb has 3 mineral lines to mine from. what I want to say before that fight actually started, a fight that I don't think really should have started. But I think Drogo did well there. He's like, hey, Neeb, you want to fight? Neeb is like, yeah, down the ramp. It's like, okay. He's like, no, I'm not going up that ramp. But he's kind of getting lured into it, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's important sometimes as a StarCraft player to ask yourself the question, what can I still lose to? And I think Neeb just found the answer very quickly. He's like, DTs.
Yep.
DTs can absolutely mess me up.
Shield battery and a cannon in every mineral line, so those DTs are going to have a hard time immediately sniping those cannons. And I love the Disruptor choice because that is what he's going to need, the siege unit to break this entrenched position.
Yeah, I mean, he technically doesn't really need it, but it's absolutely going to be great, right? Because how are you going to split 9 Archons against Disruptors?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to tell you, you won't. You know, Archons are simply a little too fat, a little too slow to avoid those shots.
This is turning into an interesting flank position, Roddy, because we do see that Neeb is chasing down this one angle, and oh man, actually Neeb gets the wraparound, and no longer is this a flank. PtitDrogo is trying really, really hard to set something up, but he's on this full retreat of the majority of his army, only getting chased by a small portion, and Neeb sees all of Drogo's army. He's ready to intercept, and Disruptor doesn't get the most amazing hit, but it softens up those Archons, and that's all he needs.
It's still a pretty good one, right? It's still quite a bit of damage, and it's 3 damage because the Disruptor survives. Neeb's army is simply quite a bit bigger and quite a bit more powerful. Neeb has played an excellent game because I didn't love his start, but I absolutely loved his mid-game. Well done by the American Protoss.
2-1 in favor of Neeb in this best of 5. He's now 1 game away from facing off versus that mortal enemy of Serral, but Drogo is not out of it just yet. I believe, if I recall correctly from the analysis segment, that the next map, Roddy, might be Turbo Cruise.
Okay, in PvP.
How are you feeling about it?
I mean, I feel the same way about it as I do about most other maps, other than the fact that there's a couple slow zones, right?
Yeah.
And it's a very big map as well, so it's a map where you can absolutely start hiding some real proxies. Not just that pylon, but you can actually commit to building a robo, building a Stargate, because it's really hard to find everything on that map. I think that this is a game that's really going to sting a little bit for Drogo because he had such a sweet start, right? He had the faster expand. He had 2 Oracles alive against a person that really didn't have anything that was great against Oracles. Neeb started off losing 6-7 adepts, but after that, I mean, yeah, when Neeb moved out and he collapsed on that Nexus of Drogo, I mean, that was such a weird sequence of events, right? Because there was that, like, trapped Archon in that stasis trap. Then before, we had that fight over the warp prisons.
Drogo just abandoned ship on the 3rd base and was trying to go into the Oracles. He lost both of the Oracles with Neeb defending and not really taking much damage.
Yep. I mean, like, I didn't mind when he finally went through it because it did create a minor economic lead. But, yeah, Neeb was just so heavy on the Archon Zealot. And I really love the fact that Neeb didn't do something like, oh, I should maybe get Blink against these Oracles because he would lose. Like, that's just such a big investment. You actually just lose against, you know, your opponent A-clicking with Immortal Zealot to the other side of the map, or Zealot Archon for that matter. So I love the way that he did it. He's like, I can't catch up in the Immortal count at first, but I can build a lot of Zealots. I can build a lot of Archons.
Oh my god, I got it wrong.
And I'm going to try to create the lead for myself like that. Like, I think that maybe it was not the most exciting game ever for the viewers, but I think it was a very impressive game by Neeb.
It was a very interesting game for sure. But as we move into Thunderbird, not Turbo Cruise, because I do not have the greatest eye vision. We are going to be starting down here in the bottom right on top of our blue Protoss player. He is PtitDrogo.
Needs to win 2 in a row now if he wants to have a date with the finisher himself, Serral, who's awaiting for the winner of this match. That, of course, will be happening tomorrow. It's quite late over here in Kiev on the left top side of Thunderbird. Look in the main base. The American Protoss. It is Neeb. Tried to sing
almost.
Tried to sync it up with Alex, man, but it's so hard to read our good friend Alex 007. I mean, the absolute legend of the CIS region.
Yeah, well, we got good old Neeb playing on Thunderbird. You know, the Thunder Man on Thunderbird. Couldn't be more fitting. But double gateway opening. I want to see what exactly these guys make out of those first 2 gateways, because we saw last game, Neeb did finally mix things up from the Stalker Sentry or the double Stalker opening to go with the double Adept opening. And that was kind of the beginning of how things just really didn't work out very well for him. So I want to know, does he try and go for something similar again, or does he just go back to standard Stalker Sentry?
I mean, that opening last game was so bizarre. It's like one of these openings where I guess if your opponent is out of position on the map, is maybe just running around or tries to get his own 2 adapts into your main base, then suddenly you can be like, bam, you know, you might get into, because then a single battery is not going to stop like 8 adapts from like knocking down the wall, right? But if everything is at home, including an Oracle, it's like, yeah, Oracles actually deal insane damage to adapts. So I think it makes a lot of sense that Neeb is going to play this a tiny bit more standard, because there really isn't much reason for the American Toss to switch things up.
Sitting up 2-1, Stalker Sentry is going to be his choice, and the Stalker Sentry is so nice. It's that nice middle-of-the-road kind of thing where you get up the Stalker, so you have a little bit of firepower if your opponent tries something funky. If the Oracle comes in later, it's also extremely useful. And that Sentry, of course, by getting it so early on, you have that hallucination energy. All standard PvP shenaniganry. But we do see a double Stalker follow-up behind this. The Pylon going up over here for Drogo is hoping to not only just prevent Neeb from moving down his ramp, but also maybe get some extra scouting information. But I'm not actually sure if, did he see the Stalker Sentry?
Even if you don't see it, right?
Yeah.
Like often if you don't see anything
the
else.
Assumption.
Yeah, like if you only see one of the two units or you only see, like you don't see a depth shading to the other side of the map, I think most people will just in general assume that this is the opening. We see a Stargate going down from Neeb this time in his main base. And you know, I was smiling a little bit because I had that little chat with Alex, right? He's like, the game's going to be weird. Don't know what to do. And I was like, you know, we had a little back and forth. Then he looks at me, he's like, maybe I'll bust out some Roddy Mac. And I started laughing. I'm like, oh, come on. You wouldn't, you know. And then he gave me like this little cheeky grin. Like, I would absolutely love it if he plays Phoenixes here. But I don't think this is the time to play games. Neeb does pick off a Stalker, though. Great micro there. Because he was actually kind of going up that ramp as well. So for him to win that fight in the end, that's really quite sick.
Very surprising. Now, there's a Hallucinate Phoenix that comes out there from Drogo. He scouts out the Stargate, and similarly, Neeb scouts out the Twilight Council. Now, in old age PvP logic, this means the Twilight Council is usually better than the Stargate, right, Roddy? But it's not always that simple, and we definitely see people make the Stargate find its value.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely with you. I feel like Stargate is just in general really quite strong, even if it didn't work out. Because these days, like, people are afraid to open up Blink, man. Like, maybe Drogo goes for it this time. I'm not saying that Blink Stalkers are bad. There's just so many silly timings, guys, with Zealot Charge, Immortal Sentry, Immortal Zealot, Archon Zealot, that just absolutely demolish a lot of these Blink Stalker openings because it just takes a long time to get Blink. So we'll see where Drogo takes this. So far, he's not getting Blink. He does have quite a few Stalkers, though, right?
Yeah, the Twilight Council also not really finding a whole lot of use just yet for Drogo. He's making more of those Stalkers. He's got those 3 sentries. There's Charge getting started. So, yeah, I'm not going to be going for that Blink. And Oracle does get pushed back, but the same thing you were saying last game about Neeb having a hard time moving out, now Drogo has to worry about that.
Yeah, of course. The one benefit that Drogo does have over Neeb last game is that Drogo didn't open up with 8 adepts, right?
That's true.
So he actually got like a little bit of an army, and when he moves out, he actually does have slightly better units, and he can also just keep these Stalkers at home. So that's why last game I truly think it was a disastrous scenario for Neeb, and I'm so damn impressed that he was able to clinch it out in the end. We'll see where this game goes. I mean, these Oracles not done yet.
I love that pairing.
Adepts are going to shade in as well. Drogo.
Yep.
Oh, my goodness. Drogo, this is going to hurt, man.
Yeah.
This is really going to hurt. If the Adepts were messing up at first, they were shooting at Stalkers, but Neeb is finding a lot of economic damage here. That's 13 drones going down.
This Adept is still alive. It's still going after another one of these probes. 13 workers is absolutely massive. And both of the Oracles get out alive. I want to highlight what Neeb was doing there, because normally you have this designated probe that is oftentimes even hotkeyed that says you are this probe that builds the shield battery to prevent the Adepts from getting in. And Neeb came in with the Oracles. He sniped that probe at the same time the Adept Shades were about to finish up. And Drogo didn't have that other nearby probe hotkeyed, so he didn't get the shield battery up in time.
No, that was really painful. Neeb is getting now 6 more gates and wants the Twilight Council. Drogo down 10 workers. This is not game over. There is still a tiny bit of hope for the French stars, but clearly it is not looking good. He does have slightly quicker +1, so he can work with this. And hey, the good things about Archon is that you don't need a lot of probes on minerals to build Archons. So tiny bit of hope, but so far a really good performance by our American Tals, who really does seem to be leveling up in this series so far, isn't he?
Yeah, and Neeb is also just embracing Thunderbird and saying, this is the map that you go to 3 bases. This is the map to go to 3 bases, because you do have that nice 3-base position where you just have to defend that one ramp at the outside the natural.
Yeah, and he's still got those 2 Oracles alive as well, right? So, Drogo, if you want to move out, fine, but you better keep 8 supply at home. And that's not something that somebody ever wants to do on 2 bases against 3. Drogo knows that he's fighting an uphill battle here. What is that on the minimap? Is that a War Prism with something?
Yeah,
yep.
A couple of High Templars going for his own Archon traps, kind of mimicking a bit of what Neeb was going for last game. And this definitely can get some value over here. Neeb has not scattered that out despite all of his Hallucinate Phoenix running around the map.
Yeah, it would be awesome if Drogo can get a couple probe kills here just to even up the score a little bit, right? Drogo didn't really find the money apparently to start +2, so now Neeb is actually going to have the upgrade advantage. And even though Neeb is up in workers and Neeb is expanding faster than Drogo, Neeb is also moving out. Now let's see if these Archons can get something done, Ravi, on the other side of the map. Whoa,
oh,
what?
that is a lot of High Templars and Zealots getting warped. So he's got 4 Archons here now. This is a very scary force, but is Drogo going to have enough back at home to defend?
Yeah, this is going to get wild, man. Like, I think Drogo's going to kill a lot, don't get me wrong, but Neeb is also going to kill a lot. Look at all these probes, they're all clumped up, but Drogo's going to lose all these units here in his own natural.
There's just nothing here. There's almost nothing here for Drogo whatsoever. Neeb already sitting up 2-1, and he is on the verge of clinching out a 3-1 victory. He is pulling all of his probes. Neeb is basically not mining right now. But that's okay because he is shutting down everything on the other side of the map.
Should Drogo recall eventually? I have no idea.
He needs to get a probe out. He's trying to escape with a probe, but there's 2 charge lots following it. He gets it.
I think you maybe clump up everything right now if you're Drogo. You recall into your main base and you hope you get a magnificent fight. I think you should recall to your main. Otherwise, you're never going to win. He's got energy on that Nexus. Drogo, is he going for the recall or not?
He's going for the recall.
Oh, he's got 1. Oh, if he got the prism.
Not enough of an
my
army.
Goodness. Nope. That's going to be it with only 1 probe and a very tiny army here. This is not going to get the job done for the French Protoss.
And Drogo down to 0 workers, has no other hopes for a base trade. Neeb has cornered him completely, not only in this game, not only in this main base, but in this bracket. And he is saying, no, victory is going to be mine. I am moving on to face off versus Serral in the next round. And Drogo taps